You ever feel tired even after doing nothing physically demanding? Your body is heavy. You wake up feeling as though you barely slept, and you drag yourself through the day wondering, why am I so tired? Still, here's the secret. You're tired mentally, not physically. Your mind is loud, whirling in the background to chat through every silence. Even when you're doing something basic like brewing coffee or sitting down, your mind runs ahead, always assessing, predicting, dissecting every last detail. Constant thinking, planning, worrying, solving problems, all of which are valued in our society. Actually, though, this non-stop mental activity is not increasing your intelligence or productivity. It silently saps your vitality, leaving you exhausted before the day starts. Your body is not worn out. The reason you feel tired is another matter entirely. It's because your mind hardly allows you permission to simply be. It helps you to constantly be somewhere else, psychologically getting ready for what lies ahead. But suppose you could turn down that inner noise. What if learning to calm your mind would be the secret to feeling rejuvenated instead of sleeping more or pushing harder? I'll show you exactly how to get back in control of your mental space, how to quiet the pointless ideas saps your energy, and lastly, feel the calm, targeted presence you have been lacking in this video. Stay around. Once you grasp this, you'll wonder how you ever lived with such a noisy mind. Most people treat their minds as machines. Machines supposed to run non-stop, never let their speed down. Still, this is the important thing. Nobody gives you sufficiently clear instructions. Your mind is not, at least not a machine. It reminds more of a garden. Think about it. An abandoned garden soon gets overgrown. Everywhere you look, you find weeds. Vines begin to tangle among plants. And finally, the lovely, peaceful environment you created is buried under anarchy. Your mind does the same thing. When you ignore, random, pointless ideas proliferate. Your inner landscape gets crowded, disorienting, and draining before long. Your mind is not tired since it is generating brilliant perceptive ideas. It's tired since it's constantly tending to mental weeds you never requested. See, your brain is really set up for effectiveness. It is meant to save rather than waste energy. But when it's constantly noisy and distracting, it's like running 20 apps at once on your phone. The battery runs rapidly even if you're not using them actively. Actually, your brain yearns for still times, not ones devoid of emptiness, just quiet enough to let you plainly see what matters. Clarity does not come from stuffing your head with more knowledge or analyzing everything more closely. When the noise within your head at last settles down, real clarity follows naturally. This is not about hurrying yourself into hours of meditation or running to a mountain retreat. It's less complicated and more potent than that. It's about learning what really calls for your attention and gently letting go of what doesn't. Your mental vitality is not limitless. Every idea costs something, every pointless thought saps you gently and subtly. Exactly the mental habits robbing your peace are those little internal dialogues you go back over. The concerns about things outside of your control. The relentless expectation of what's next. But when you deliberately turn your attention another way, learning to let go of extraneous mental clutter results in something amazing. Your natural return is energy. Your body responds as though a heavy weight has been taken off in addition to your mental weight feeling lighter. You inhale further. You start to move less tightly. And all of a sudden, your daily responsibilities don't seem daunting. Stated another way, experiencing mental freshness is not difficult. It's quite rare, because most people have simply never learned how to quiet their internal noise long enough to feel totally present. And that's precisely the topic we will next look at. Once you feel the quiet power of true mental clarity, you will know exactly why your mind doesn't always need to speak to have something significant to say. Have you found how often we confuse busyness with significance? We have been taught, gently but continuously, to equate a busy mind with production and value. We feel behind if we are not evaluating, forecasting, or solving something. Realistically, though, let us be clear. Not all mental activity is generated equally. Intentional thinking from habitual mental chatter differs greatly. Intentional thought has great strength. It is clear, targeted, and strong. Mental conversation, though, that's simply noise. Your mind is whirling around, persuading you it is doing something significant. The difficult part, though, is this. One finds consolation in mental chatter. Known. It helps you to be creative since your mind is always active. And as odd as it sounds, having mental activity could feel safer than silence. Just why? Since silence can be awkward. Quiet is land not yet explored. Your mind slows down and you suddenly find ideas or emotions buried under layers of continual noise. And really, most people are subconsciously avoiding the uncertainty buried in silence. But the great truth hiding inside that discomfort is there. Silence does not mean emptiness. It is clarity just ready to be heard. Consider the last time you really felt rested, calm, and clear. Usually it was not while multitasking or overanalyzing. Most likely it was an unplanned, calm, real quiet moment. Perhaps it was a quick stroll outside, a time with a friend, or a brief stop felt to be longer than it actually was. You were not working toward any solution. Still, clarity seemed to find you. That's so because constant analysis is not the place for clarity. It shows up naturally in those rare times when your mind at last lets off a breath. It exists in the gaps between your ideas, not in the ideas themselves. And that leads to a significant insight as well. Your attention is exactly related to your energy. Every pointless idea you consider absorbs some small amount of energy. Energy you could be spending for connection, creativity, or just plain enjoyment of your life. Moreover, silence of the mind is not only a philosophical or spiritual concept, it's quite handy. Learning to silence your mind is about not thinking less. It's about choosing specifically which ideas to let into your mental field. It's about guarding your attention and energy as though they were your most priceless possessions, since they are. Protection of your mental space is not optional in a society meant to grab your focus at every turn. It's crucial. Your mental energy is like rare currency, and your whole relationship with thinking changes once you start treating it as such. You start to pick more carefully what calls for your energy. You stop letting stray ideas and distractions sap you. Mental silence starts to seem to you as a blank canvas full of possibilities rather than as emptiness or boredom. And the actual magic occurs in that change of viewpoint. The moment you stop running from silence marks the moment you at last start to hear your own voice once more. Definitely, gently, powerfully. Here is something subtly important but absolutely vital. Most people are not aware of the actual strength of their mind. Contemplate it. Every second your brain works through millions of bits of data. It forms new ideas, negotiates difficult situations, solves problems, and always adjusts to fit a world undergoing constant change. Your mind is really amazing. The drawback is that here is. Exactly because it's so strong, it also readily gets overloaded. Consider your brain as a top-notch sports car. It is built to function, strong, exact, and accurate. Still, even the priciest sports car requires brakes. It needs maintenance, gasoline, and rest. Eventually, something breaks down if you continuously push it to the limits. Race it at maximum speed without stopping. Your mind is not distinct. You are effectively redlining it constantly when you never let it rest or allow a moment of true silence. This non-stop mental activity generates internal conflict, a tension you experience as mental tiredness, anxiety, or even emotional burnout. Most people mistakenly think that mental energy is unlimited, that the mind can run non-stop without consequences. Like physical energy, mental energy is not limitless, though. It has to be renewed. It wants room. It demands silence. Imagine sportsmen. They do not train non-stop without pauses. They stop deliberately so their bodies may heal, grow anew, and return stronger. Your brain runs on exactly the same concept. Your mental clarity, creativity, and focus gradually fade without intentional breaks. Your brain gets foggy, tired, and progressively useless over time. Now this becomes really useful and practical for your daily life. Imagine you are working on something significant, perhaps a project, perhaps a decision. For hours you have been laser-focused, mentally pushing yourself and closely examining every element. Your mind runs against a wall eventually. You sense being caught. You will advance less the more hard you push. But then, something fascinating occurs when you at last choose to back off. You grab a glass of water, stroll a little, or just sit quietly doing nothing at all. And then, quite suddenly, an idea strikes. Clarity reappears. Your struggling with the answer comes naturally. That is not chance-based luck. At work, that is your mind's natural intelligence. Your mind is sorting itself in the silence you set aside. Neuroscientists refer to this as the brain's default mode, a potent state of mental rest in which real clarity, creative ideas, and problem-solving naturally arise. But you have to deliberately create silence in your life if you want to enter this default mode and release the whole capacity of your mind. Not intentional silence, not silence the one you come upon, aimed silence. Intentional silence is not difficult. It's allowing your brain to stop. It's deliberate decision to stop stuffing every free moment with pointless mental commentary, anxiety, or distraction. It's about respecting your mind the way it deserves and realizing silence isn't emptiness. It provides quite great clarity. Practicing this will help you find it more natural. Early on, you begin to notice mental noise. You learn to turn away faster, and you start to feel more deeply free mentally, slowly and subtly, one in which your ideas help you rather than rule you. This is the sensation of actual mental mastery. It's not about permanently quieting your ideas. It's about realizing you have no obligation to adopt every idea that surfaces. You are free to choose quiet over noise. You can choose order over anarchy, and something amazing happens the moment you deliberately embrace that decision. Your mental power comes back. Your inventiveness resurfaced. Your clarity gets even more profound. Once you have at last found the key to actual mental resilience, life stops feeling overwhelming. Silence is not the antithesis of production. That is built on this. You are aware of what ironic the noisy mind is? Many times we believe we must hang on to ideas tightly, as though they define our existence. Even for a brief period, we hang to ideas as though releasing them could somehow bring about the fall of our planet. Here is the startling fact, though. If you back off from your mental chatter, your reality won't collapse. Actually, that's exactly when your life starts to align. Take this into consideration. The best times in your life most likely did not involve too much introspection. They called for presence, openness, and easy flow. Perhaps it was a deep conversation with a significant person or a complete absorption in nature, art, music, or just laughter. See how none of these events demand great mental noise. You weren't trying to figure out life at those times. You were engaged in it totally. Still, most people believe silence indicates one is missing something vital. If we stop examining or guiding our experiences, we unconsciously fear missing out. The truth is, though, the richest events of life usually happen exactly when your mind is least active. When you're not reading the moment, but rather letting yourself be totally inside of it. See your mind as a rather strong lens. What you pay attention to magnifies. Predicting, obsessing, and overanalyzing causes magnitudes of stress, anxiety, and confusion. Even momentarily, quieting your mind helps you to magnify insight, peace, and clarity. Managing every idea is not the secret to a happy life. You are deliberately choosing which deserves your time and attention, and this goes beyond mere theory. It is quite useful. Think about sportsmen or artists. They are not mentally recounting their every action at their best. They are in what is sometimes called flow. Their ideas vanish, their behavior becomes natural, and they reach peak performance exactly because they are not trying to mentally micromanage every second. You can access the same level of flow even in daily events. First of all, though, you have to realize that your mind's continual narrative isn't serving you. It's separating you from what really counts. Deep involvement with your life yields flow and fulfillment. Mental analysis of it does not. And here's how you practically make that place for mental silence in daily life. You first begin to see your mental patterns. When your mind wanders into unneeded territory, when it obsesses about details beyond your control, when it constantly expects problems that never arise, when it endlessly recounts every action. See this lightly and without judgment. Then deliberately remind yourself, I need not follow every idea that comes to me. One has great freedom in that little choice. You restore your mental autonomy. You start to direct your focus instead of merely a docile disciple of arbitrary ideas. This little change calls for no force. It calls for careful awareness. Every moment of awareness and gentle refocusing of your attention strengthens your ability to choose clarity above turmoil. And something amazing results from regular practice of this. Your brain picks up a different mode of existence. It starts to naturally search clarity instead of jumping right into stress or anxiety. You learn to identify pointless noise and to gently let it pass by, unaltered. Suddenly, your life gets easier because your inner environment got clearer, rather than because outside events changed significantly. You feel lighter, more alert, and more responsive. You no more exhaust yourself trying to control every thought. You now know to let go and come back naturally to a centered, quiet presence. Real mental strength manifests like this. It is not limitless problem-solving or constant study. It's grounded enough in you such that outside events don't disturb your inner peace. It's choosing presence over distraction, clarity over noise, and actual experience over mental interpretation. Basically, silence your mind, not about stifling ideas. It relates to changing your relationship with them. Your ideas become tools rather than masters. You calm yourself instead of becoming erratic. You come awake, present, and charged. Not because your situation changed overnight, but rather because of your mental attitude. You cannot go back once you really grasp and experience this. You never again will mistake mental noise for production. Rather than out of boredom, you will actively seek quiet time since you at last realize that silence is your best source of clarity, peace, and energy. Your mind isn't meant to run at full tilt every waking moment. Pausing, breathing, and moving away from your ideas without feeling guilty are all okay. You are free to let silence to be your friend, rather than your foe. You are recovering your peace each time you decide stillness over noise, presence over distraction, and clarity over anarchy. Your mind is learning that it is safe to rest, safe to slow down, safe to just live. Recall, you are not every idea you have. You are far more powerful, quieter, and deeper than the mental noise you have come to know. Drop the words, "quiet mind" in the comments if you have made it all the way here, so I know you are really dedicated to this inner peace. Share this with someone who would profit from a mental pause. And as always, fiercely defend your peace since it is worth more than you could possibly know. See you in the one after that.